I find with beekeeping, because it's such a, to me, it's a huge subject, you learn for that, for whatever you're ready to learn. So, which is fine. So there's, because often, you know, you can easily get overwhelmed if you read the beekeeping book on everything. So I do felt to take a time. So last year was my first year to really get involved in harvesting swarms, which was, you know, it's another threshold. Like, oh, I can't do this. And then after doing, you know, whatever you do more than once, you get good at it. But what I noticed is that every time after a swarm, I was totally unable to sleep. I was buzzed. And so I researched, and the frequency of a bee in swarm is up to 500. So it's really loud, because they haven't eaten and they flap their wings so fast. And so through that, I came across this wonderful woman in Colorado, and that is her subject, and her subject is frequencies. And that the bees have a higher, very high frequency. And the higher the frequency, the more organized an organism is. So in a high frequency, because honeybees are incredibly organized. You never see two honeybees bumping into each other. You don't ever see a honeybee flying through your window and bumping against the window, you know, like birds do. So honeybees are incredibly organized, and honeybees, ancient, and that's how I got into more the ancient times of beekeeping. In the ancient times, it wasn't the bee that was celebrated. It was really the hive that was celebrated. It was the hive that counted, not the bee. And then through modern beekeeping, we really took the bee out of the hive and said, we want honey. And don't really, especially, you know, with the design of our boxes, is not necessarily for the bee, but it's for us. And one thing is which I love, a saint, St. John said, the bee is more honored than other animals, not because she labors, but because she labors for others. So honeybees are really, to me, very, very special, because they really work for the higher good. The one thing I recently learned, that until 1700s, it's only 400 years ago, not even 400 years ago, the belief was that honeybees came from a carcass of an oxen. So I couldn't believe it either. So I'm still researching that one. But the only thing that I can say is it was inconceivable that a queen could lay eggs by herself. And of course, church had to do quite a bit with this too. So the church was big in beekeeping. There's many bee goddesses. The Melissa is a bee goddess from is she from Greece or Roman? Women had, oh, it's not on the, oh, I thought it was on there. Women's dresses were made out of bee hives in ancient times. Recently, I thought about the wasp. I never thought about what it means to be waspy. Does anybody know? It's because their girdle, whatever, was so skinny like a wasp. So the name waspy comes from the wasp. It's so we can celebrate the wasp too, which is quite interesting. So anyhow, so with this, the woman wrote a book called The Beehive Effect. She did an amazing research, and I'm one of her first ones doing it here on the East Coast. Her name is Valerie Solheim, Solheim. Valerie Solheim. She was a new beekeeper. She's been only a beekeeper for about 4 years in the mountains of Colorado. She and her husband went to a beekeeping. Beekeeping is a big issue in Colorado. It's very important, but they have very harsh climate and bears. So she and her husband both decided to not go for medication. A lot of beekeepers medicate their bees, less and less, but if you're a commercial beekeeper, often that's the right way to go. So her research was to heal bees with bees. So in the way she did it, she took the healthiest bees in the country, which were Hawaii, because at that time Hawaii did not have the varroa mite. They were the cleanest and healthiest and survived from year to year. And she would record those bees, and I don't have a recording here, But you can actually see it on her website. You can listen to all her recordings. She recorded the bees, put them on a CD of the spring bees. The spring bees sound very different than the summer bees. The spring bees, the queen is getting ready to lay eggs and very busy. Summertime, they're much more, they're louder because they have to keep themselves cool by flapping their wings. And then she has one of bees making wax. And the CDs are an hour long, interesting to listen to. Humans use them for various parts of healing. But then what she does, and this is quantum physics, which is still beyond me. I'm learning, but I'm not claiming to know it all, exactly how it works. So I put the CD I put the CD in a plastic so it doesn't get wet onto the hive. And with the CD, I put a copper ring that is made after an old mathematical Egyptian equation. And that transmits the low frequency of that CD into the beehive. And I did talk to her and I said, please, can you explain this again? But that's where it's called tensor field, anybody who's in physics, because the CD is made in layers, so that's how it works. The results I had were amazing, and they continue to be amazing. I had 3 hives, I lost 2. The last one was very weak in March, and I got them in March, and they've not only come back stronger, but the entire hive changed because it was a little bit aggressive hives last year, and this is what she claims in Colorado. The beekeepers who all joined her is they become very gentle. They eat less, which is interesting, because their frequency is raised. So now they don't have to work hard anymore. So they have a higher frequency, and if you're in a higher frequency, you have to eat less. Similar to, I related to a monk who meditates 40 years and they don't eat very much. Because I looked inside, I said, oh, there's no bees. Oh, and I was afraid to look inside of what I see. They were all in there. They were all in there with honey left and everything, just ready to go. So there's something changing, and it's I'm very excited to share that. And she is actually going to speak at a Robert Redford Film Festival, who always takes a cause with his festivals, and this year's cause is pollination. Because the honeybees are dropping, for the ones who might not know, tremendously. We lost in this country and all over the world. What is it, 50% last year? It was, I think, one of the it's been high every year, but it's continued to be high. We lost over 50% of the monarch last year, and he's an amazing pollinator. And because the ready Roundup in the West doesn't help, and the Midwest, and they also feed on thistle. And because there is no thistle, it's a weed, they don't make it down to Mexico. The hummingbird, I'm not too up to on the hummingbirds. I know the bats have issues. Those are our pollinators. So what we can do for pollinators, I have a list over there. I'd be happy to take down emails and send you an exact list of what plants to get. I'm feeling most of you are already doing that. Honeybees, what do they like? They like, right now, where are we? What do they like right now? Herbs. The spring, the first flowers are done. There is service trees, those are called June berries. There are certain trees which they love, the June berry. You can put cinnamon in there. You leave cinnamon stick in the honey. It will draw out the properties of cinnamon, and that's known to lower blood pressure. It's really, really there's done a lot of research. What really works well with thyme or sage honey, I brought one sage honey. So you just take a bunch of thyme, take it in, pour the honey over, let it sit, and then after about a week, it will taste like thyme. It's quite wonderful. Buckwheat honey. The honeys we buy around here are all, I think, mixed honeys, unless you're a beekeeper. Some of you guys, do you put your beehives where the flowers are?
We have lots of herbs.
Oh, so yeah, so it's mixed, yes, yeah.
Last year, I think the honey tasted like apples and lavender.
Oh, isn't that amazing? Yes, if you have tons of lavender, you can make just strictly lavender honey, right? I know. It's quite, honey, to eat honey is amazing. It goes in the bloodstream differently. So if you're on a low sugar diet, it's not the same. It's allowed. That's how I feel. Any questions? Oh, so after we're done, please try all the honeys. I also have brought the salves that I make. You can try them. They're whatever burns you have, whatever issues, sunburns. It's really quite amazing, and they last for a long time, and they're quite healing. Yes.
Check the hives for mites, or
this is quite interesting too. This CD, this frequency, mites cannot stay in there.
wow.
Mites, it kills mites, or it doesn't allow mites to arise. I don't have mites so far, but I have 3 new hives, and it's too early for mites. They come.
How do you make the CD work by the bee hive?
I know, and I said the same thing. This is where it's called quantum physics. She wrote, pardon me?
What do you do to make the CD work?
It's with a special copper ring that was specially formed by 2 physicists. She does not make them. She does not claim to make them. These are 2 physicists. What they did before, it's called a life cycle, These are called harmonizers. And it sounds bizarre to us, but we are energy. We are energy. Bees are energy. The other research I read is beekeepers, there is not one type of cancer ever found in a beekeeper. Beekeepers don't get arthritis. I mean, but that has to do with the sting. But with the cancer, I'm not sure. It's a new study. It's interesting, but it has to do with frequency.
But what do? You glue it on to the...
No, I literally put duct tape. I put it on, and I take that copper ring next to it. And that copper ring emits... Right, because CDs are made in a layered way. That's somebody explained.
Plastic CD, like I can put in a CD.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you listen to it, it really. Yes, and I'm so upset I didn't bring it. No, I cannot hear it. No. But they're
here.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So you don't have a CD player going?
No. No, good question. No, good. Thank you for asking that. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. Pardon me?
I thought you played the CD.
Oh, no, I'm sorry I wasn't clear. No, I do not play the CD there now. Oh, I gotta run and play the CD for them.
Turn it over.
So you put the CD inside the server or outside?
No, outside, on the outside. And it has a range. Right, and pardon me? On the outside, right on the outside.
Front, back, side?
Here, I can show you pictures.
Because who can avoid for mites, that would be a major case.
It absolutely, and she is like, her study is with her local beekeepers in Colorado, and there's one beekeeper who's had beekeepers for years.
He's doing it too?
Oh yes, and they all find. So here I can pass it around.
That's the ring.
That's the ring.
Where does the CD go?
And the CD goes in a piece of plastic right onto the top.
Where does the CD? I'm gonna. Yeah.
Yes, you can look through there.
Okay.
She also has it like this, but this is much simpler.
So
Yes.
how many honeys did you bring today?
Today we have fall honey from last year, ginger honey, and sage honey. 3. Ooh, and I'm sorry she's not here. Suzanne lost her bees, so she asked me to get her honey out. I don't use the extractor because it wasn't that much. Using an extractor is a lot of fun, but a lot of work. So I just scraped it. So we could get to try hers too, which is quite different.
You're going to let everybody come up and...
Oh, yes. Whoopsie. There is, where did they go? Oh, I'll get it later. Oh, thank you. So you can just use these here, and we'll get a napkin. Oh, yeah, well, unless there are any more questions. Yes. Oh, by the way, honey. We should not buy any honey in the stores right now, I'm sure. Has anybody heard this? The entire EU just decided to not get any honey from India. And there's been major scandals with honey from China because it's been tainted. It has metals, heavy metals, and pesticides in it.
What about American?
Well, there's in the supermarkets. Oh, no, Mrs. Green's, absolutely. So when you look in the supermarket, you have to look for, well, you can't really, pure honey is not really what?
You have to read the labels very carefully.
Very carefully.
To the sources.
Yes, right.
We have very good restrictions, labeling laws on any food, let alone honey.
Yeah.
And honey doesn't have, so you should, whatever you do, at least have it say made in America. Very important. Because the chances are high it's not pure honey.
Or get it from your local beekeeper.
Best if you get it from a local beekeeper. Yes.
Yeah, with the CDs.
Yes.
How long do you play it? How many days do you play it? What time of day do you play it?
I don't play it. It plays, I don't play it. I actually do play it at home. And I actually like it. It's quite interesting. No, I take the entire CD.
It's not spinning?
No, it's not spinning. It's transmitted via a copper ring.
So there's no electricity?
No.
involved?
And by the way, if anybody, beekeeper, is interested, the investment is literally $90 for the ring and $25 for the CD.
And you
And you
swear
just
by
live
it.
in there forever?
So far, I'm amazed, but I'm also amazed by her because she's not doing this for money. She was a PhD and a therapist, and she just really fell into beekeeping and absolutely loves it. So she's doing the research, she's paying it on her own. Yeah. And the findings are quite amazing. And plus, I believe in it because I've been feeling, you know, how it feels when you're inside a swarm, that you're feeling different. And for beekeepers, when you sit next to your hive, what happens? Exactly. It feels good. So it's using our intuition. And that's what I feel is a beekeeper. As a beekeeper, and if I can quote you, John, John knows a lot about beekeeping. And his answer, if somebody says, "Oh, John, what shall I do?" His answer is "What would you do?" And that is really why I love beekeeping, because there is no one answer. It's you have to use your own intuition and your own judgment. There is nobody to blame. You can't blame anybody.
So when you use the smoker,
Literally only when you go inside to check brood, to make sure the queen is laying eggs, and only gently. Yeah, and the smoker is just it's kind of knocking on their door to say, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. They kind of crawl into the comb to protect their eggs. They don't leave. Yeah. Yes.
What's the purpose of a little hive? You said you have a little hive next to the big hive?
At home, do I have a little hive next?
On the table.
Oh, it's just yes.
Not that.
Oh, the top hive maybe? The top hive bar? Oh, sorry, you're talking about the box for the swarm.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's just to capture them. Yeah.
And do you have one of those?
Top bar? No, not yet. But I'm experimenting inside the hive. That means I don't give them a frame. I give them only a piece of wood, and it's working.
They're making their own?
They're making their own in a different shape.
So you're getting more wax?
Yes, and this wax, I actually just went in today. I had new hives, and this entire wax is made in 2 days.
2 days?
In 2 days, and we can pass it around. It's just...
Is that where you're experimenting? Is that what you're talking
No. It's right now the bees got mailed from Georgia. So you take the queen, you take a little box, you put the queen she's with 5 drones, you insert her into the hive, and they need to eat their sugar plug. She's protected. The only way that they know she's my queen is because she has a pheromone. And the pheromone takes about 3 days to spread, so they have to work really hard. And then you literally squeeze her in here, and after 3 days, which was today, you want to make sure she got out.
Got out of where?
Out of her little cage.
Oh, you put the cage in?
You put a little tiny cage in here, which I didn't bring today. And so they made this where the opening, whenever you leave an opening like this, it's filled with wax. So, and if honeybees go into the wild, which they do, they make structures like this. So their structures are kind of wild all over the place, and they make it fast.
So that one thing you showed that was kind of cone-shaped?
That's called a top bar, right.
So would you recommend that instead of these box things?
John, do you have one yet? Do you have a top bar? You know, it's kind of, you have your equipment, and when you have equipment, it's easy to mix and match, and to have new equipment, then you have to, it's one more step. I would like to, I don't have a top bar yet.
I've had some experience with Top Bar.
Yeah,
The wax and the honey is all together, so you don't
Right.
need to get a spinner. You can just cut the honey and the wax and like smush the in a pail. Smush the honey in the wax. You'll lose the wax.
you lose the wax, which means the bees have to start all over again. So it's good and bad, yes. Where the other frames, the frames you spin out, and the honey flies out.
But you need a spinner,
You need a spinner, right?
which is expensive.
Yes, yeah.
What about those hives that were in Europe that
The skeps?
weren't allowed here? Yeah, what
Right.
was that?
Why aren't they allowed?
Oh, I think
You have to kill the bee.
I think it's fear. It's called fear.
Kill the beehive.
But
Yes, you always have to kill the beehive to collect the honey with a scab. That's why in medieval time that was very different. We didn't produce as much honey as now.
right.
Because every year you have to kill the beehive. That was awful.
In a skep.
Yes, in the scab. It's
But the same with the top heart. Top. Oh no, you didn't kill the entire one. You mean you killed the bees? Oh no, I didn't know that. See,
yeah, no, that's we always think. I come from that part of the world.
where they had skeps. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We think we glorify this process, but you know.
Oh, I did not know that you had to
It's
kill
only
the
30,000,
bees.
every time you need money. So you have to
Wow.
start all over again, every spring. So you know what?
All right, so maybe it would be interesting to see if in Europe. I saw a whole thing on skeps. John, you know anything about that? On Germany, there was a big long YouTube, but they didn't say anything about killing them.
Can you explain, you bought your bees from Georgia.
Right.
They came how? In a box?
They come on a truck. They come in a box, which is with the metal screen
Right.
and a can of sugar water. So they make their trip. And the little
The
queen,
bee is still by herself, but she can still have some sugar water if she wants.
yes, she has a sugar plug, absolutely. So, and the queen is separately with about 4 drones in her little cage.
That's it? When
And
you
that's
buy
it.
bees, that's it?
Well, this year, last year I got nukes. Nukes are frames that already have brood, and you get about 4 or 5 nukes.
Get them from Georgia?
No, they came from up north. So, yes.
I was reading about it, they were surmising that one of the reasons that bees are getting sickly, besides the nicotine pesticides and all,
Right.
was that the commercial beekeepers are feeding the bees with corn syrup
Right, right.
rather than their own honey.
It's absolutely. And there's a wonderful movie. If somebody hasn't seen it yet, it's called Queen of the Sun. You will enjoy it. It's absolutely beautiful. And it talks very much about commercial beekeeping. It talks about Rudolf Steiner, who was the founder of the Waldorf School. And he predicted about, when was he, 90 years ago, 100 years ago, he predicted that if beekeeping continues in the way it did 100 years ago, we will be in trouble now. And we are in deep trouble. If we don't have honeybees, every 3rd bite we humans eat, every 3rd bite is because of the honeybee, not because of the monarch and the butterfly. Honeybees are still the highest pollinators. There's part in China, they already lost them. They lost the pollinators. So they're using people, and they get a little brush. But a honeybee can pollinate about 300 flowers in an hour. A human being can't do that. Then they came up with the machine. I don't know what kind of machine that would be, because you have to have a big brush to get to every flower. That's the only way to do it. But this movie, this is a wonderful movie, because it's not Vanishing of the Bees, it's the other one, which is a little like sad. This one is informative. It was one of my reasons to really step up a little bit and take it to a different level. And they're coming up with a new movie called Seed. It's all around seeds and Monsanto and seeds around the world. But they're doing a beautiful job. They had a lovely guy, and little French guy. He would tickle his bee with his mustache. So it has beekeeping all over the world, which is quite wonderful. Oh yes, yeah, Queen of the Sun. All right, so please take some honey. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So any questions? We can do it. Yeah.
On the winter, what special care,
in the winter, bees keep warm just like the penguin. They huddle, and whoever is 95 degrees, they crawl out and jump on top. And the next one. So that's about it.
Please, everybody, come on.
They eat their own honey.
Come try some honey.
80 pounds.
Margaret.
Yes, they need 80 pounds. Yes.
So can you? I saw on YouTube, some urban, hives.
Right.
I mean, can you do it on a small scale?
Absolutely.